In the pre-dawn darkness of June 6, 1944, as Allied soldiers prepared to storm the beaches of Normandy, the fate of the war hung in the balance. In Berlin, Adolf Hitler slept, confident his forces were ready for the real invasion at Calais. But Hitler was wrong. He had been deceived by a man hidden within his own spy network, a man named Juan Pujol García, codenamed Garbo, the double agent who fooled the Nazis from within. Juan Pujol García was an unlikely hero. Born in Barcelona and hardened by the Spanish Civil War, he developed a deep hatred for fascism. He vowed to do something for the good of humanity against the Nazi menace. Pujol was no soldier. He was a former chicken farmer and failed businessman, but he had guts and ingenuity. When World War II erupted, this ordinary Spaniard set out on an extraordinary mission: to wage a secret war of deception against Hitler's regime. Without any contacts or training, Pujol tried to volunteer as a spy for Britain, but he was dismissed as unqualified. Undeterred, he took matters into his own hands. In 1941, he concocted a false identity as an ardent Nazi sympathizer with political connections. He even secured a forged diplomatic passport to bolster his cover story. Armed with this persona, Pujol approached German intelligence and offered his services to the Third Reich. The Germans took the bait. They gave him the codename Alaric, money, and instructions to set up a spy network in Britain. Pujol promised to do so, but instead he went to neutral Lisbon, Portugal. From Lisbon, he began sending Berlin a steady stream of reports about Britain, all fabricated from public sources. He combed newspapers and radio broadcasts for scraps of information, then wove them into credible military reports. He described convoys sailing from British ports and troops gathering in Scotland, all imaginary yet full of convincing detail. His German handlers were impressed, never suspecting it was pure fantasy. To make the deception even more convincing, Pujol created an entire cast of fictional subagents supposedly scattered across England. He gave each fake agent a name, background, and role in a different city, and pretended they were feeding him information. This elaborate cast made his reports appear well-sourced and gave him cover whenever details didn't check out. The ruse worked brilliantly. Berlin became convinced it had a huge network of spies in the UK, all under the control of their new agent, Alaric. Eventually, British intelligence caught on to the ruse. In early 1942, MI5 tracked Pujol down and enlisted him as a double agent, giving him the codename Garbo for his acting skills. Now working for the Allies, Pujol continued to feed the Germans his carefully crafted lies, only now with British guidance shaping every move. Under MI5's watch, Pujol's deceptions grew even more effective. He and his handler, Thomas Harris, expanded the imaginary spy network to 27 agents. The Germans were essentially funding an intelligence apparatus that didn't exist. To bolster his credibility, Pujol cleverly mixed truth with falsehood. He might slip a genuine detail into a report, but always too late to do the enemy any good. He even tricked his German handlers into apologizing for missing a warning he sent too late, and later convinced them to pay a pension to the widow of a non-existent agent. Such was the depth of trust Berlin placed in Agent Garbo. By 1944, Pujol faced his ultimate test. The Allies were preparing to invade Normandy, and he became a linchpin of Operation Fortitude, the grand deception to mislead the Germans about the invasion's target. For months, he had been feeding them false reports suggesting the main Allied assault would strike Pas-de-Calais. He described phantom armies poised in southeast England, reinforcing what the Germans already feared. Even Hitler believed Garbo's carefully planted hints. As the D-Day invasion fleet approached France, Pujol sent a last-minute message warning his German handlers that an Allied landing was imminent in Normandy, timed so it reached them just too late. When the invasion unfolded and his tip could not be acted upon, he feigned fury. He reprimanded his German contacts for their negligence in missing his warning. Far from suspecting him, the Germans felt they had let their star agent down. In the days after D-Day, Pujol insisted the Normandy landings were merely a diversion and that a much larger invasion was still coming at Calais. Panicked by this phantom threat, Hitler kept his best divisions waiting near Calais for a blow that never came. This delay gave the Allies time to secure their Normandy beachhead, an advantage that saved many lives and helped seal Nazi Germany's defeat. The Germans never learned the truth. In July 1944, still believing in their prized spy, they awarded Juan Pujol the Iron Cross for his outstanding service to Germany. Little did they know the British had quietly awarded him the MBE for that same service. He became perhaps the only man in World War II to be decorated by both Hitler and the British Crown. After the war, fearing Nazi revenge, Pujol faked his death in 1949 with MI5's help. In reality, he slipped away to Venezuela under a new name and lived quietly running a small bookshop. For decades, even his former allies assumed the great Agent Garbo had died. It was not until 1984 that the world learned the full story. That year, a researcher discovered Pujol alive in Venezuela. Pujol returned to London and even visited Normandy for the 40th anniversary of D-Day, where he was quietly honored for his immense contribution. He died in 1988, having lived to see his once secret legacy recognized. Today, Juan Pujol García is celebrated as one of history's greatest spies. He forged an illusion that helped bring down the Nazi regime. Hitler never discovered that his most trusted spy was actually his hidden enemy, a humble Spaniard whose lies helped win World War II.